Hello. Hello, hello, hello. How are we all doing? How are we doing, yo? What's good, what's good, what's good? I know the eclipse is gonna happen very soon. So, hopefully everyone's doing good. The eclipse is like about to happen, I think. Yeah, I like got rid of all my hair, by the way. I got rid of all my hair. But yeah, no, basically, as you can see here, the sun is coming in right into the office. So, the eclipse, I think, happens in like 10 minutes. Or something like that. So, I'm just gonna like click record on my, record like studio thing. Because we might actually, I'm pretty sure we're gonna catch this eclipse on camera. Well, we will in the VOD anyway, but it'll be funny. We're gonna catch the thing anyway. It's gonna be interesting to see how it actually looks. Cause isn't this like the eclipse not to like 2090 or something? Something like that. I think anyway. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not completely up to date on it. But it might be. I'm not 100% certain though. I could be wrong. Kyle, look straight at the eclipse and go blind, no balls. Loki might actually have to happen. Might actually have to happen. By the way, today will be a pretty, I would like to say a pretty decently long stream. Because, this is going to be the final piece of content, live stream specifically, in this office. So yeah, this is everything. This is everything. Everything you see right now, you won't see this for like another year. So this will be literally it. So yeah, I don't know. So I'm gonna see how long I can actually stream for. Cal's gonna get Felix's hairline. Thankfully not. My hairline's actually okay. Thankfully. But so basically what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be reacting to the new Azoro theory, which I watched the first 30 seconds of it and I was immediately lost. But it'll be interesting because, again, we have no idea what it's going to be. I just remember them bringing up, like, a Sophie breaking their arm or something, and I personally have never heard that, like, where they got that story from, so it'll be interesting. But I think I'm just curious to see how it's all going to play out. I'm curious to see what the theory is. But then also this eclipse might actually be happening. Yeah, it's getting a lot dimmer, so you can kind of see like just here. I'm leaving the curtain slightly open so y'all can just see the thing go out. But after we react to that and give our opinions, which will of course be then a video which we'll post at some point, then we will be doing the hot takes. Because, to my knowledge, which I'll check on my phone, we have, like, 250 comments, by the way, which is just nuts. Like, 250. I'm going to turn off the music, by the way. Actually, no, we still have one more song on the playlist. We're fine. Let it play. I'm pretty sure there's, like, 250 comments on that post, which is just nuts. Let me check. How many is there on there? I'm checking right now. But I'm pretty sure there's like an insane amount of comments of hot takes. So we'll get into all of them. As of right now, oh my god. There is 273 comments on that post. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Yo, Serial, first thank you so much for the sub, dude. I appreciate that. So, also, I see a lot of people in chat saying that the theory is nonsense. So, it'll be interesting to see if, you know, what's going on there. Also, is Azoro AI? Is it AI? Is it interesting why the thumbnail was BD Studio saturated bond? I just took that image from the episode and then saturated it. I'm pretty sure it probably looks similar to BD Studios' video. Amazing video, by the way. Everyone go watch BD Studios' video. It's fantastic. BD Studios' new style of videos are incredible. Also, that looks like the sum is getting dimmer. I don't know. Am I getting the new Walten Falls merch this Friday? Yes, I am. I absolutely am. Lorenzo is coming with me. Don't worry. Lorenzo will be in the new office. Could be the. It looks very similar. Well, it's the Walten Falls. It's the. You know what I mean? It's the same shot from the episode, so I would expect it to look somewhat similar. Your Art of Jack is just in their analysis video. I don't know exactly which one you're talking about, but I don't know. Oh, don't worry, Rusty. I get that. Don't worry. We'll get into everything about like the hot takes at some point in the stream. I just want to kind of let this eclipse play out, because I think it's supposed to happen in the next 10 minutes. And I don't want anyone to come in 20 minutes and miss a load of the stream. So we're just going to chill. I'm going to read some chats. And then if you're watching this as a VOD, it is the 12th of August right now. And the solar eclipse is happening. So if you're watching the VOD, that's why we're not talking about anything just yet. The rocket plushie looks stoned. Okay, here's a conversation starter. I actually might put this as a poll. Which I never normally do polls. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a poll in the chat right now. I want to hear everyone's opinions on the change of design of the rocket puppet. Of the rocket plushie, sorry. Let me see here. Start a poll. Which rocket plush do you prefer? Old design. We'll go old design. And we'll go official design. I'm curious. Yeah. There you go. I personally prefer the new design. I'm gonna vote if I can. Can I vote? Am I able to vote? I personally prefer the new design. Personally, anyway. I love how derpy he looks. I think he looks great. I really like it. Personally, anyway. But there is another plush video coming out. To my knowledge, there's a plush video coming out. I might actually have to text Martin about that, because I might be on the plane when that drops. I might actually text Ave. I accidentally pressed a keybind. I'm actually going to text Avon now. And see if I can do a reaction video before it comes out and then release it after. I'm going to send a little DM. Where is Ava? There they are. Yeah, I like how they're not going silly for the plush video, by the way. It makes too much sense to make it serious. Hold on. The old one doesn't look like a Walten Falls plush. Exactly, the mouth, like the... Is it the snout? That just seems to... I don't know. Hold on. New plush video. Throw the question out there. Sorry. Okay, there we go. I just had to text Ava and Martin there. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll there after 55 votes. The official design has 84% of the vote. That's interesting. I'm not really surprised that the official design one also. That sun is definitely moving. I'm using my nose as reference. Yo, thank you so much for the 10 joules, dude. That sun is definitely moving. Look. Oh, it's about to happen, chat, I think. I think that eclipse is about to happen. You're gonna see all of here just disappear. We're gonna experience the eclipse together, guys. Let's all hold hands and watch and look into the sun. Let's not do that. Do not do that. Do not do that, please. The official design is really good. The Sophie plushie looks great, dude. I hope they don't change that. I really hope they don't. I hope they don't change that. Luckily, my blind. Yeah, I know it's funny. My curtain is like just covering the sun, so I'll just see it go completely dark. This is kind of cool though, right? Oh my god, it's getting so dark. Hello everybody. By the way, if you're just joining into the stream now, we are just waiting for the eclipse to happen, and then we'll get into Walten talk. Because the eclipse is pretty cool. But I just want to let everyone actually see that. Because, like, it's what? 2090 is when that's going to happen again? So, yeah. Well, that's a long time. I like how Sophie's kind of mad in her plush. It makes her look silly. I think Sophie's just a mad person in general, I feel. Will I make videos about creepypastas? Maybe. I'll see. It depends. Oh no, it's absolutely getting darker for me right now. It's really cool, I can't lie. I think it's... Oh, Ava just texted me, hold on. Okay, awesome sauce. It's 2:09, I think it passed for me. Does it I'm curious, does it not happen at the same time for everything? Or is it like, would the eclipse have already happened for some people? Or is it just the same time for everybody? I actually don't know. I'm not aware. I'm not very smart in terms of like astrology and stuff, so I wouldn't know. I love all the plushies. I'm determined to get Makeshift to restock all the plushies. I'm determined to let that happen. There's a Sophie plush. Yeah, I think I don't know when it's dropping. Cal, can you stop the eclipse with your reality warping abilities? I absolutely can, but I'm gonna let everyone experience it. We're gonna let everyone slide for now. But I mean, I'm very curious to see Azuro's theory. Considering a lot of people have been in chat saying it's terrible. Like I saw someone compare the theory to film theory's level of theorizing for the Walten Files, and that's harsh. Well, it might not be harsh. I haven't seen the theory, but that's a crazy claim. So, if anyone has seen the Azuro theory, is it really that bad? Hey Hardu, can I make an edit of you for your TikTok? Of course you can. I guess. Well, it depends on it depends on the edit. What edit are we talking? Makeshift bring back glow in the dark Bond and Boozu. I know Boozu needs to come back, chap. It just needs to happen. It needs to happen, dude. But yeah, like I'm curious because is that channel AI? It's really bad, Cat. Oh god. Pand, wait, have you seen BD Studios' new I'm in BD's new video, right? I remember recording one of a line. One of the lines, sorry. I traveled to a city in the path. Oh, my husband and I traveled to a city in the path of totality in 2017. East Coast skips. Oh, sick. Yeah, it's really bad. There's a lot of reaching. It starts off kind of shaky. Does a better job in the second half putting it all together. Okay. Azura's new theory makes a lot of assumptions based off its own assumptions. Oh, God. I need a Susan and Charles plushie. Valid, dude. Yo, Nyan Studios. Thank you so much for the follow, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have TikTok. It's just cal.film or something, and the profile picture is like me with the green screen background. That's the theory, wholly out of nowhere. Wait, what? What's the theory? Oh. Cal, who's your favorite Sesame Street character? Either Bert and Ernie. I can kind of, you know. Azura is making false narratives just to say a Bond isn't Jack. I would never accuse anyone of just making false narratives unless they can, like, if they can back it up with, like, genuine statements and evidence, then you always got to say, okay, it makes sense. Well, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense, but, we should also get plushies of the Showstoppers in their prime. Oh, that would be, I think a Showstoppers Inc. plushie collection would be so sick, dude. Why do I think so much that Jack is Bond? It just makes too much sense. Like, if Jack isn't Bond, who else is he? Like, other than Jack just being in Wonderland, which, again, completely makes sense. If he's just in Wonderland, that makes sense. But it's weird how every theory I've seen is that, like, for example, off the top of my head, the Azuro first theory, did he mention where Jack is at all? I can't remember off the top of my head, so I'm not going to say he did or didn't when I don't remember fully. So, I'm the Shadow Man. Mystery solved. Rosemary plushie. I would imagine Jack and Rose will eventually get plushies. Do we think any of the plushies have been scrapped? I think the release dates maybe have changed, but I don't think any of them have been completely scrapped. I want the TVA one so badly. Might not like Azura's theories, but I hope. Yeah, exactly. Like, just because you don't like a theory doesn't mean you shit on someone, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't do that. Like, sure, you might disagree with a theory, but if you genuinely, like... If you genuinely go at a creator just because of their theory, that's insane. Like, sure, you can disagree, but come on. Be good. Just be good people, dude. Sometimes, yeah, exactly. Sometimes the answer doesn't have to be complicated. I think that's what people think as well. People keep thinking that the answer is going to be complicated. It's been confirmed to not be complicated. Like, I got a comment one of the times, and I think I mentioned on one of the previous streams. It's like some guy or some person said in the comments, "Oh, you go off too much confirmation bias." And I was kind of, I think the chat on the day when I mentioned the theory, told me what it meant, but what my initial reaction was is like, I keep using confirmed evidence to fuel a theory. I was kind of confused. So I don't know. Jack is Bond. There's no way it makes sense story-wise if he's not. To all personal stories that bring out the tragedy of a singular event Felix String can have is how they can reach them to harm to others. Exactly. Who would ever go at someone because of theory being... Oh, trust me. Junie or Junny, I've seen people genuinely get mad at me and other creators just because a theory seems out there. Like, don't get me wrong, if I disagree with a theory, I'm going to say I disagree with it, but, like, you don't actually go at the person making the theory. Like, it's different if it's, like, you're just, completely getting information wrong and you haven't done your research. Like, for example, on the film theory one, when they, like, blatantly did not do any research. Like, completely didn't do any research. In comparison to if the film theory made those videos, let's say, 7 years ago, like, let's say this all existed 7 years ago, and they made that theory, MatPat would have actually done the research and found out, yeah, Felix is very much presumably Shadow Man. You know? Um, I do feel like most of the plushies are going to get revamps like Rocket did. Well, when you think about it, it makes sense considering so many of the actual official characters' designs change. Like, for example, if you get the Pumpkin Rabbit design here, this is obviously from the Mysterious House. So this is the Yellow Rabbit, right? And if you get the Bond plushie, like, if you get the Bond plushie, they're pretty much the same design because Pumpkin Rabbit in the original Mysterious House video is just a redesigned Bond. But for example, if they do a Lorenzo, like if they try and do a thing like Pumpkin Rabbit is like a Lorenzo plushie where he's like in the apron and stuff, it'd be different. Hi Cal, greetings from dude, Argentina. That's so sick. Messi's my favorite footballer, by the way. Since you don't like my theory that Sophie is Bond, I'm gonna find you. Basically, dude. Honestly. That isn't really what confirmation bias is. Confirmation bias is when you only look at the info that agrees to your own opinion while ignoring everything else. Oh, well, that person's just wrong then. Because the whole video, if you go back and watch my reaction to Azuro's video, I'm like, that makes sense, when it makes sense, and then when it doesn't make sense, I'm like, okay, I don't really agree with that, and I try and find reasons to why I don't. So that comment is just going at me for no reason then. Well, I mean, at some points I might have. Like, I mean, at some points when you, like, are really passionate about a subject, I think it's, like, anything, really. Like, if I made something about, like, I don't know, building a PC, for example, and just completely got something wrong, I'd be like, yeah, fair enough, go at me for that. Because, like, I don't know anything about PCs. Yo, what's good, Jofo? Jofo, did you mention me in a video, by the way? I haven't watched the video yet. But did you mention me in a video? Because I think I got, like, an at. My ats, like, mention thing on YouTube Studios are cooked. So I don't know. It could have just been a glitch or not, but I actually can't remember. And if you did, I'll watch it in this stream. Carl, how do you think Sophie will handle such deal what she learns from Bunny Farm? She's going to explore K9 and get killed. I don't see how Sophie beats Bond, I'm sorry. I know it's, like, pretty dark to say that. I really don't see Sophie surviving the series, I'm sorry. I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I just don't see it happening. If it happens, it happens. But I just personally don't. I just really personally don't see Sophie surviving by the end. That's just my own take, though. Maybe she might. She might. But I do think that that one scene in Bunny Farm. Do you know the one where it's like, they've been waiting for you? It's like basically the ending scene of Bunny Farm where like, Sophie goes up to each animatronic and it shows like the background in their face, and then Bond shows up and starts doing the Daisy. You know what I mean? But also, just while I'm at it, chat, my next video is out tomorrow. Okay, it is the full timeline and story of the Walten Files. Everything. I put about 2 weeks of studying, because obviously I know the series very, very well, but I wanted to properly delve into the series. So I put 2 weeks of editing, 2 weeks of studying and writing notes based on the whole series to make a video about everything. I've separated into parts, like I've done the whole timeline of the series, and then another video I'll do eventually will be the whole Find Jack Walten. The whole Find Jack Walten side of things. And then I'll eventually do the whole, like, what other side could I do? I actually don't think there's another side other than the official timeline of the Find Jack Walten stuff. But anyway, talking about that massive video, it's like, I think it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long. I think I can check. But it is everything. Yeah, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long of like a full video. So I've been writing it for 2 weeks ever since, like, when was it? It was like the start of the month, really. So like what, 12 days, I guess. But I've been like obviously taking notes of the series over all my theories for ages and ages and ages. So I obviously just reused some notes that were already written. But like I did my best to make the video as good as possible. Hopefully there's no spelling mistakes, like there was in the Buzu video. But I kept writing and writing as I was editing as well. Like there is parts in there where I had to do voiceover because I forgot this part of the timeline and put that in. So I was writing for like a good few days ago as well. But it has everything. So if you're somewhat like not completely up to date with the series and you want to know everything, like from the Richie audio logs, what they mean, to the basic main timeline videos, the secret videos, like Guilty and stuff, it's all in there. I did lots in my video on find FOG. Hold on, I'll get it. I'll get the abbreviation. Face of Grief. Yes, it's timestamp. I bet. I'll have a look at it. I'll have a look at it. Didn't you write it in English? Didn't you start writing a few days ago? No, I've been writing it for like 2 weeks and started writing bits and pieces added onto it a few days ago. Random headcanon. After the cops analyzed the Walten house, they gave the remaining BSI property to Felix. On the property were designs of the mysterious house abusers ghost, which gave to MW Anime Studios. That's a cool theory to look at. If like Martin will make himself canon in the series, because obviously like mysterious house. I don't think that personally will be the case. When will the video start? I'm just waiting because I don't know when this eclipse is going to happen. And I don't want people to miss the eclipse because we're talking about Walten files. And this eclipse is pretty cool, so... Find Jack Walten updated? I highly doubt it did, by the way. I highly, highly doubt it. Hey Cal, I recently started watching your channel. Your videos are amazing. I did mention you on an Instagram story today. You're amazing, man. I really hope the best for you. You mentioned me on your Instagram story? Let me see. Did you actually, like... The eclipse has happened? It is bright outside for me. There is nothing going on. Is that it? That's it? So literally nothing has happened. Alright, sick. Alright, let's get into it then. Okay. Have you seen the full BD? I haven't watched the full BD Studios video yet, no. I just know I'm in it. Because they texted me saying, Cal, would you record this? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Always down to help out. Alright. Let's lock in. Okay, music's going off. I need to type in a Zorro. Surely his channel's blowing up at this point, right? Yeah. Is this person actually AI, by the way? I got some like people actually telling me they were AI. I'm genuinely curious. Alright. What state do you live in? I'm not American. So, I live in Ireland. Okay. So, let's have a look here. Sup, what's good, dude? How are we? How are we? Oh, you are? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm in it at some... I don't know when. I don't know exactly when, but I'm in it at some point. I meant comment. Hey, Cal, speaking of... Oh, of course, dude, of course. Okay. The One Falls is cooler than an eclipse. Low-key, like, what's actually happening? Like, nothing in there actually went on. There's an AI peep in chat. Huh? Sorry, I'm confused. I don't have the brain capacity to understand what that means, really. Okay. Okay, let's go on to this. Azuro. Okay, live scene. Okay. So, right. Yeah, so as you can see, I watched 30 seconds or something of this. I finally solved the Walten files, not clickbait. Alright. So, before we get into this, I am, of course, going to be, like, completely transparent if I, like, what I think about this theory and stuff. I just remember in the 30 seconds I watched before stream is, like, apparently Sophie gets into, like, an accident that breaks her arm or something here. But I don't know. Okay? So, yeah. This is, like, the first, like, minute or something I watched. Okay, so we're about to find out. What are the comments saying? Did this convince you? Okay, it's clickbait. Don't watch it. I mean, hey. Gotta do what you gotta do. When you have to add the not clickbait. Okay, without further ado, let's get straight into it, of course. We're about to see. But hey, okay, let's see what this is apparently solving the Walten files. Solving the identity of Bon. Okay, let me turn up the video 1 second.
And why doesn't Bon attack Felix? This got me thinking.
Is this loud enough?
After having a little more time to rewatch Faces of Grief,
is that loud enough?
I think there is one crucial detail nobody talks about, and everyone seems to overlook. I'll elaborate my points at the end of the theory, so stay with me as I'm
It's
about
really
to make
bad.
some wild claims. But trust me, it'll all make sense in the end.
By the way, I'm gonna be so honest about this. So like the VOD you're watching, the title of this reaction could be really harsh, and I apologize in advance, but it might not
The
be
year
harsh.
is 1963.
Is
Jack
that
and Rosemary
good
Walten
audio?
just had a newborn baby a few months ago and named him Edward Walten. They also
Okay.
have little 3-year-old Sophie Walten running around.
Okay.
Jack and Rosemary have been very stressed from trying to raise a baby while also giving their toddler the attention she needs, so their trusted co-worker and friend, Dave, calls them up and asks if he can help somehow. Dave takes Sophie to the playground where every parent's nightmare comes true. Sophie accidentally falls from the highest point of the playground and lands right on her neck. Sophie, now in critical condition, gets rushed to the hospital while clinging on to life. She stays in this near-death stage for quite some time, but the doctors manage to set her on a path to recovery. During all this, Jack was in a complete state of panic, since people didn't have cell phones yet in 1963. All Jack knew
I'm already lost.
is that they should
Hold
be
on.
at the playground.
Let's
when he goes
hear him
there
out.
to investigate what's taking them so long to get home, he only arrives to an empty playground. Jack drives around the entire town until spotting Dave's car at the hospital. Fearing the worst, Jack barges in and finds Sophie unconscious in bed. The panic, rage and fear all fill his soul when the doctors tell him there's still a chance they may lose her. A few days pass with Sophie still in the hospital, with Jack's rage against Dave building up more and more every day, until he finally reached his breaking point. Jack decides it's time for Dave to pay for his actions, so he packs his gun and sets out towards Dave's house in the nearby forest.
Okay. Just before we get into this, there has to be evidence to all this, right? Like, there is going to be, like, this is how I got this, right? Okay? I see the chat is absolutely dogging on this right now, but let's not do any, okay? Let's not do any of that hate stuff, okay? Don't do any hate. This is a theory. It's not that deep, okay? I'll be honest. I can't be the only one who absolutely hates how everyone just assumes Jack is always angry. Alright? Like, I understand he is presumed to be angry a lot in the series and what we've seen of him, but, like, why does everyone think he's just always angry? Like, don't get me wrong, my theory about the emotion stuff would make sense that he's angry at Felix because he killed his 2 youngest kids. But, you know what I mean. Let's see what evidence they have for all this.
Rosemary stops him at the door and asks him where he's going. On a hunt.
Why is the time not changed, by the way? So, okay, never mind. No, sorry. He's just using this as background to talk the conversation.
Jack says.
Never mind.
Jack breaks through the front door and knocks the man out cold, but it doesn't stop there. Jack wants him to go through the same suffering that he put him and his family through, so he tortures him for hours on end, till there is no...
Okay. I don't see why Jack would torture a person, but then again, we don't know yet.
life left in him. Jack makes sure that there
Yeah,
is
thank
no
you so much
chance
for the
of him
jewels.
coming back and shoots him in the head. Not wanting to get caught for his actions, Jack puts the lifeless body in a suitcase and drops it down a nearby well. Jack didn't want Felix to raise any alarms of their co-worker going missing, so he told him exactly what happened, while doing it in such a tone that makes sure that the cowardly Felix doesn't say a word to the police. Felix develops a drinking problem from both having to cope with the loss of one of his friends, and Jack pressuring him to remain silent. He drinks...
If he doesn't mention Linda's... Okay. If he doesn't mention Linda's notebook in this theory...
so much as to...
Also, I'm 2 minutes in and I have no idea what's going on.
attempt to forget he even existed. This works just fine for both Jack and Felix, until one night in 1974. Felix crashes the car with Ed and Molly in them and buries them nearby the same well that the remains of Dave were thrown in. We know these two spots are near each other from the map we get in the Bunny Farm episode. Dave has been trapped...
Wait, let me go back to that map. Hold on. Okay, this is where I'm just going to mention something. Wonderland is definitely, like, this bunny farm area is definitely a real place. Episode 5 kind of confirms that for me. But I don't see how this connects to the burial site. Personally. I don't see how this can compare to the burial site. Just because, again, I don't know if there's a confirmation where this well is located. If it is in St. Juana's, then fair. But I don't see how just because Rocket is here on a map means that's where they're buried. Also, they're buried on a cliff, and there's no fencing around this place. There's no road near it. So I don't know, personally. Yo, thank you so much for the 5, Grim. I think Jack was in acceptance before he left, but something happened at Bonds that made him disappear. Definitely. I definitely think so. I definitely think it's going to be something with Felix. Felix is apparently a lot of the time spends his time at Bonds, so it makes sense if Jack goes to Bonds Burgers to kind of like go at Felix maybe. But hey, let's see. Dave is a placeholder name. Placeholder. I don't get why he wouldn't just state that. Just saying a random person called Dave and then putting the Future Starts Now guy there. Just say, literally just say in your theory, I'm going to use this as a placeholder.
Near each other from the map we get in the Bunny Farm episode.
Doesn't necessarily
Dave
prove
has
it, but
been
you know.
trapped inside this well with nothing but his thoughts for years.
Oh my
and
god,
years now,
Ava's here.
Using the suitcase as
Ava, we're watching this theory, but like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna hear him out because he has to mention Linda's notebooks if he's talking about the 64 incident.
Vessel to
Or
not
63,
fail.
sorry.
When he notices his old co-worker, Felix, nearby, he does his best to try to persuade him into taking the vessel out of the well and take it with him back to the city. He promises Felix he can make this all go away and how he'll always be safe under his protection. Felix eventually recognized the man and likes this idea, so he agrees. Nothing really came of this mutual agreement because Jack was still at home mourning the loss of his 2 children.
Okay,
until
so
June
it's
11th.
doing the
first day that
Felix
Jack
and Bond
decided
make
to
a
go to
deal.
work again. This is where Dave, now Bond's plan for revenge, comes into action.
Okay.
Just as Jack is about to close the restaurant down for the day, Felix asks him to come backstage, where Bond was already waiting for him. Jack, instantly recognizing the man, decides to make a run for it. He manages to stay just out of sight for a very long time, but after a whole day goes by with no end in sight, he accepts his defeat. He calls Rosemary to tell him he is sorry.
Thank you so much for
what
the
he has done,
jewels.
as this all stems from his own actions. He noticed that Bond found him, so he tells her he loves her and hangs up, so she won't have to listen to what's next. Bond absolutely rips him to shreds and traps his soul in Wonderland. We then have Bond turning every single one
Yo,
of
thank you
Jack's
so much for
loved
the
ones
2, dude.
into
I appreciate
beautiful
that.
animatronics, while Felix records all of it. These recordings get shown to Jack in Wonderland using the tape player we see in Lacrimosa. We first have Susan into Banny, then Charles into Buzu, Rosemary into Shah, and Billy was planned as a birthday gift for Sophie. He almost managed to get her, but Ed and Molly intervened, and she managed to get away. This
Wait, what? Hold on. Okay. He almost manages to get Sophie. How? I mean, in fairness, episode 6 could reveal that Sophie comes into contact with Bond. However, I just highly doubt that this image, like from the lighter from episode 1, I highly doubt that's like from 74. I would put everything on that being like 82. You know what I mean? But I swear she's with her auntie, right? No? No?
traumatized her, and with Felix fearing the truth coming out, he uses that trauma as an excuse to get her pills that make her forget.
Well, this is just wrong. Episode 5 confirmed that's wrong. Episode 5 does not confirm that's 100% wrong. It is very heavily implied that Laura, Rosemary's sister, put Sophie on the pill. Sorry. Ignore me kind of lashing out a little bit there. It is heavily implied that Laura is the one that puts Sophie on the pills. Okay. It is still possible Felix puts her on the pills, but I just don't personally see that anymore. I used to see that 100%. That was always my theory. But now looking at it, it has to be her auntie that does it. But anyway.
All this happening. And the rest from here happens exactly as it is shown on screen. The animatronics are taken into the K9 facility to secretly remove the bodies. Ashley then gets stuffed into Billy when she explores a little too deep into the K9 facility.
She does.
Brian Stells meets his end during a checkup
My
for
goat.
being confused with Sophie, and the rest
That is my
history.
goat.
Now I'm sure you have many burning questions. So
Yeah,
before
who's
you
Dave?
go off on me in the comments, let me explain myself, starting at the beginning. The first point, I'm sure that will need some extra explaining, is at the very start of the timeline. Why 1963?
That
There are two
sounded
events in
AI.
19...
Okay, sorry. Also, Grim, thank you so much for the 2. He also said that Bond was at the car crash. That is a possibility that Bond was at the car crash because Felix's car is in Wonderland. Let's not go off on a 0 for that. There is a possibility Bond was somewhere around the car crash. There is still that possibility. But listen to the way this person says 1963. That sounded AI to me. I don't know, though.
Of the timeline. Why 1963?
Why?
There are two
I mean, anyway, that
events in 1963
However, sorry, wait.
that we can connect to this point in the timeline.
However, I do stutter a lot as well. But I'm just saying that there hasn't been a stutter this whole video except for when the numbers are mentioned. So I don't know if this is... I'm just going off that because I've been told this is AI sometimes. I don't know. I need confirmation on that, by the way. Please, can someone actually give me definitive confirmation if it's AI or not?
First is a simpler one. Linda Kranken, Felix's ex-wife, writes in her diary about how Felix's drinking problem is getting worse. She hasn't mentioned it before, so we can assume it began before 1964. Something happened that traumatized Felix enough for him to develop a drinking problem. The second point is a little more complicated. In 1963, the locals around Bond's Burgers were reporting a strange crying and wailing sound.
Bond's Burgers didn't exist in 63, did it? Wait, hold on, sorry. The building was built... It's in the theory. It's in my timeline video. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. The building's built in, like, 1970... Ooh, hold on. I have it noted in here somewhere. Hold on. It never existed in 63. Hold on. Let me get the definitive answer just based on that. Hold on. I have it here somewhere. Where is it? Wait. I have it. No, 74. The idea was pitched in 65. Okay. Before someone says I'm a confirmation bias, maybe he misspoke. I mean, maybe, but I don't know.
Near the waters of the forest, so a team of researchers went over there and tried to record it. We can first hear someone whistling, a barking dog, and then intense screaming.
Where is this
that
evidence?
Notes down 1963 as a critical point in our timeline as something traumatizing for Felix, and the cause of suffering so intense that it doesn't disappear from the area, even long after the suffering has passed. Then,
LARP detected.
I just pulled out of
the River Song thing he's using from the ARG, I can't blame him for using this because Coker presented this as though it was an official extension of the series canon, but nothing in the pond sees as canon. Yeah, maybe this is like a misunderstanding of thinking that something is canon when it wasn't. That would make a lot of sense. This fella is a LARPer. Okay. Okay, can we all just... I was going to say, just because a theory might be wrong, can we just not go at the creator for this, please? Like, the creator might have seen the previous video. Like, let's not just go at the... Sure, you can say a theory is wrong. Let's just keep it friendly, okay? Please, like, I'm saying that genuinely. Please, everything be completely safe and friendly. Thank you. Yeah, the guilty audio tape starts in 63. So, yeah, okay.
Important plot point of them all. Who is the mysterious co-worker called Dave that I keep talking about? Well, Dave is just a name I gave him. I have no clue what his name is, but I do know he exists from a few clues we see throughout the episodes.
Okay, I'm interested.
The first clue is given during the first episode, where Brian Stells shines his flashlight over this photo.
Okay, so Jack, Charles, Rose, Felix, Linda, maybe Norman. That is I'm pretty sure that's confirmed to be Norman, by the way. Then Susan. Hold on, is this guy about to say Norman's Dave?
If we zoom in and enhance the picture, we can make out almost every person on it. There is Jack, Charles, Rosemary, Susan, Felix, Linda. But who is that?
Norman. It's Norman.
This is who I'm proposing to be the missing Bunny Smiles employee who I've been calling Dave, but there's more.
It's on the only time now. I don't think that photo has been confirmed to be Norman, but on the wiki, when you look up Norman, that's the photo you get. Just saying.
See an unexplained co-worker of Bunny Smiles. During the latest episode, Faces of Grief, Rosemary is being led into the back rooms by Bon, and on
Oh,
her way
no.
there, she sees this picture. We again
Charles, Rose, Jack, Felix. And you know what? I actually don't know who that is. That could be Susan, maybe? Maybe?
can make out pretty much everyone in this picture. Charles, Susan, Jack, Felix.
Oh, I know, maybe that is Susan. That looks like Rose, curly hair. That looks more like... That could be Norman also.
And again, this mystery person. This would also
Now, that is Susan. I was right, yeah, it's Susan.
explain Bon's
That's Susan.
weird obsession with the animatronics.
Thank
as
you,
it was
Ava.
part of the reason they exist in the first place. The next controversial point is probably the one where Sophie gets rushed to the hospital in a near-death state. No single character,
Yeah, where
not
is
even
this coming
Sophie
from?
herself, ever mentions her nearly dying, but that's because this isn't told in a direct way. After Rosemary gets turned into Shah at the end of the latest episode, we can see scarecrows of Susan and Charles watching her as she makes her way through Wonderland. We know both Susan and Charles currently remain in Wonderland, so it's safe to assume that scarecrows in Wonderland means that the person is currently residing there. We can take this information and go back a couple minutes, back to when Rosemary has her own near-death experience and first enters Wonderland. She doesn't wake up at the church, no. She wakes up at a playground with a scarecrow there. Sophie's scarecrow. This isn't a hallucination of Wonderland. She genuinely would have died here if the detective didn't save her life. It seems like Sophie either currently resides in Wonderland or has...
If this takes place, if this Wonderland experience takes place, first of all, the two scenes of Wonderland this person is using don't happen at the same time, by the way. This is when she's dying. The one beforehand is when she's dead. Sophie's alive at this point. Sophie could be alive the whole series for all we know. We don't know Sophie dies. So where are you getting this from? Okay, we'll let him continue on the Sophie explanation, but Sophie's alive at this current point. So
been there in the past due to a playground-related incident.
So he's trying to say that Sophie nearly died by snapping her neck, so went to Wonderland in 63. Okay, now it's not like it's far-fetched, but it's not like a completely impossible, because technically, if hypothetically she snaps her neck, she could go to Wonderland. But okay, this is what I'm gonna say. If someone snaps their neck and is nearly dead, like on the verge of death. Now, I could be completely stupid here, and I'm gonna put my hand up if I am being stupid. But like, if they snap their neck and they're on the verge of death, like, I just don't get that.
There have
Sorry.
also been many get well soon teasers with a little lamb portrayed on them. These didn't really mean anything to us at the time, but they do support this theory.
No, they don't.
Rosemary sees her children.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. They're covered. The get well soon stuff was removed from the images. No, I could be wrong about that, but
Children as her little lambs, and it wouldn't really make sense to send Ed and Molly a get well soon card. So that only leaves one child left, Sophie. I then feel like this next point doesn't need an explanation, but does need to be mentioned. The suitcase and the well have both been shown to be extremely significant to Bon as a character.
Everyone who's watching this VOD is gonna hate me, but I'm just using what I've heard. The box is apparently not as important anymore. It's Felix's box, first of all. It's not Jack's. That was, to my knowledge, confirmed to be Felix's box. Now, Ava's in chat. Ava can tell me I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But from what I remember, that box is not important anymore. I could be wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. But yeah.
And this timeline of events also ties those up. Both interpretations of Bon have been shown to be rising from a well.
Interpretations of Bon. It's Showbear. Showbear's not an interpretation of Bon. No, the box isn't Felix's. Okay, got you. Thank you for clearing that up, babe. Okay, the box is not Felix's. But am I right in saying that the box isn't as important anymore? Am I right in saying that? Because I don't know where my brain is formulating that from, but I could have sworn that the box wasn't important. But to me, it might still be, or it could be changed, of course, because it does show up very. It shows up very. What's the word? I guess clearly. I don't want to use the word clearly, but it shows very clearly in episode 5 when Rose goes in and like she walks in, she can see it on the floor. But yeah.
That would make sense if the vessel that he is tied to.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe I heard it in a comment section or something. But yeah, thanks for telling me I'm wrong, so I'm not just like assuming stuff.
Is currently residing inside the well. Spirits can only exist a few moments outside their vessel, so Bond needs someone to move the suitcase, the vessel, to his desired location.
The importance has changed, but it's not any less or more important. Got you. Okay, thank you.
This is shown in the episode.
That's the scene I was referring to.
Every time Bond turns someone beautiful, we see this, the suitcase.
True.
This theory also explains why Bond doesn't target Felix, and why Jack doesn't press charges against Felix after the accident. Bond needs Felix in order to do his work, and Jack doesn't press charges
that
against
part
Felix
I agree
due
with.
to his fear of what he did to their co-worker coming out. And lastly, Jack. A lot of people seem to have theorized that Jack is inside the Bond animatronic, while the spirit of Dave controls
the physical body.
This, however, is proven to be incorrect when the Walten files posted this GIF on YouTube. We can clearly...
I think this is AI. I think the pronunciation of Walten files confirms that for me, sorry.
...is inside the Bond animatronic, while the spirit of Dave controls it. This, however, is proven to be incorrect when the Walten files posted this GIF on YouTube. We can clearly see only one
just because his physical body's in there doesn't mean he's
spirit
not.
Possessing Bond. This means Jack's spirit is somewhere else, and where is the one place we've seen it? That's right, in the videotapes. It doesn't matter whether it's new or old tapes, Jack has always and only been inside the tapes. This is because his soul is trapped in Wonderland. But everyone who passed away has their soul in Wonderland, and still seem to be able to influence the real world just fine. How come Jack can only communicate through videotapes? Well, that's because there are...
The end of this video is much better, by the way. The start of this video had me, but no, it got better towards the end.
Two versions of Wonderland. The first one is the grassy landscape where everyone can move freely as they please. And second...
To me, that looks like hay. Like, when... It still could be grass, but like dehydrated grass where it's all like yellow, like a farm. I don't know.
Secondly, there is the one we see in Lacrimosa. A prison designed by Bond so that the souls residing there don't cause him any trouble. And what do we find here? A tape player. This is where Jack's soul is currently trapped, with the
That's not a bad theory, actually.
tapes of his family being brutally murdered are also his only possible form of communication, having to relive those moments again and again, as this is his only possibility to escape his worst nightmare.
Also, as a British person, nah, that makes no...
And with that, we have
dead grass,
the final all-inclusive, no outside law references, everything explained.
What? No outside law? What's that mean? Wait, hold on. No outside lore references? I mean, there is just a plain assumption Sophie snaps her neck. Alright, so that's the full theory. Okay. Now, the end of that theory is, like, way better. And I think the way the video is structured, like, makes it worse. Like, I think for me, when you have all those really bold claims at the start... Like, just giving some random name, Dave, assuming, first of all, in my opinion, I'm just going to say, this might sound harsh, but I personally think that image, it's very, very searchable on the wiki. I think the fact you're also not mentioning Norman once, or any of the pool tricks for that matter, is very interesting way to go about it, especially when... To my knowledge, according to the wiki, of course, I don't know if the wiki's like, oh my god, official knowledge. I mean, I would assume it is. Because it's like, for me, it's like using Wikipedia as a source. But when you search up Norman Poultrick on that wiki, the photo from episode 1 shows up of like everybody, and you have Norman in the far left. Now, I don't know if that is Norman. I would presumably think so, considering how Norman is like so close with Felix in terms of the business side of things. And I think we're going to get Norman in episode 6. I personally think that. So I think the fact that when you confirm that Norman's in those photos, and also the fact that he's thinking Susan is this Dave guy, kind of eliminates a lot of this theory. But then again, like, that's happened to me on so many theories as well. So I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, that's annoying. But no, I've made theories where Ava's told me, no, this is actually wrong, and it kind of diminishes the whole theory. So stuff like that just happens. But I think the ending of this theory video is much better and much stronger, like, in terms of the box. But the fact of, like, just going, yeah, Jack just got really angry in 63 because someone caused Sophie to snap their neck. So went out, tortured them, shot them in the head, and then threw them down the well. I'm just saying this out of my personal experience with the Walten Files series. I don't see Jack just going out and torturing someone and then just shooting them in the head and throwing them down the well. Personally. You know, also, there's a donut that just came in that makes a lot of sense from Sopping Marmot with $2. Thank you so much, by the way. How's Dave physically in the well, but also in Bon? Yeah, I don't get that either, especially when this is the same creator who said that, like, oh, Bon, like, the kill into, like, the well, then all of a sudden, like, attached himself to the suit, and then somehow ended up in Bon. Like, there's a lot of, like, leaps in logic, but, like, the end of this theory isn't bad. The box thing can make sense, considering we don't know officially what the box means just yet. Like, there's still a lot of things that, like, make sense, but I think the vast majority of it is just assumption-based to the point where it just kind of makes it very hard to believe. It's not like this theory is, like, the worst thing I've ever heard. It's definitely not good or great, in my opinion, but it's not like, oh my god, this makes zero sense. But I just don't think, personally, I think the reason why this video is getting as quote-unquote hate as it is purely because of the fact of the way it's structured, of, like, just saying Sophie snaps her neck and then just assuming that, oh, she's dead. Like, that's just wrong. That's literally just wrong. When Rosemary's in Wonderland, Sophie's alive. Like, and then again, when did this video come out? 9th of August. Yeah, Faces of Grief came out on the last day. Yeah, you had 9 days to kind of assume that, oh, maybe it's not Felix who put Sophie on the pills. Because now, after episode 5 is released, personally, whenever I think of Felix being the one putting Sophie on the pills, to me now makes no sense. Like, before episode 5, I just assumed that, yeah, maybe it was Felix. Maybe. But, like, after watching 5 and My Soul, it is pretty heavily implied that it's going to be Sophie's auntie who puts her on the pills to get her, like, kind of out of, like, that sense of mind. So the fact that this video comes out, like, nearly 2 weeks later and not referred to My Soul once, by the way, is very interesting to me. Like, I don't think this person has ever referred to My Soul, which is a crazy thing to do considering how much lore is in that video. Like, My Soul has so much lore. Like, there's so much to take out of that. Like, with Felix's actions and how he carries himself, with Rosemary's journal, and then, of course, with the complete reveal of Sophie in 1982 on the pills. Like, so when I look at that and I'm seeing this video come out 9 days afterwards and not addressing My Soul, not possibly addressing Sophie and her not interrogation, but her questioning, and then also not coming into the fact of, yeah, Felix could still possibly be the one on putting her on the pills, but even just mentioning, however, presumably it could be her auntie. The fact that that's not mentioned once is super interesting to me. And, like, I'm just very, very intrigued because I don't see why, like, when he said Sophie, like, he says Sophie dies
in Wonderland, or has been there in the past due to a didn't save her life. It seems like Sophie there. Sophie's scarecrow. This isn't a hallucination of Wonderland. She genuinely would have died here if the detective didn't save her life.
Like, the detective didn't say... Okay, it's talking about Rosemary, sorry.
Seems like Sophie either currently resides in Wonderland or has been there in the past due to a playground.
Like, currently resides in Wonderland. Sophie's not dead. Sophie's alive for minimum 8 years after this event. Minimum 8 years. So that's just wrong completely. Like, the whole thing of just saying, oh, she could have possibly gone to Wonderland. Yes. But also, what's crazy to me, which, again, I'm gonna help Azuro here, by the way. There is a frame in episode 4 of Sophie. It's the only frame we get of Sophie in episode 4 off the top of my dome. And it's not mentioned here. And to my knowledge, now please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna look it up on the wiki, but I swear she looks like she's in Wonderland, right? I'm just gonna remind myself because I don't exactly remember the exact frame, but there is a frame of Sophie in some capacity in episode 4 that isn't mentioned here at all, and I'm like, why is that not mentioned? Grim, please can we stop with the music on the wiki? By the way, it scares the shit out of me every time I go on the wiki. It jump scares me every single time. Is there a way to turn that off, like, please? Maybe because it's been a while, Cal. Still, if you're gonna make theories on saying Sophie's dead, I still think that sort of knowledge and research is required. Personally, that's just my take on theory crafting. Sorry. Also, Grim with the 2, thank you so much. Jack's body has to be in Bond since he went to work. It's not necessarily like has to be in Bond, but it's, to me, I'm like, where else is Jack? You know. But yeah, no, let me get it here. Yeah, never mind, it's not in Wonderland. Sorry. But yeah, there is this shot here. Mute the tab. Yeah, no, I have it muted all the time, but every time I go onto it. This is a frame in episode 4, by the way. It's like a singular frame. But this is in episode 4. Yeah. It's like when the things are changing. But, like, just assuming Sophie goes to Wonderland is crazy to me. And, like, personally, am I the only one who thinks that in my soul, you go from, what, 54? In my soul, it's like 1954 when Rose first meets Jack. Like, I'm just going to say this. Surely my soul would have a diary entry of Sophie snapping her neck. Or is that just me? Like, personally, I think that my soul would have at least one sentence in that entire thing of like, oh, we're just back from the hospital with Sophie. Am I the only one who thinks that? Just out of curiosity. The fact that, like, that's not mentioned, or my soul at all, kind of makes me feel like it's not being addressed. But, like, I just think the fact that you're getting genuine diary entries from the time period of you're making the theory from, and the fact it doesn't mention Sophie apparently breaking her neck, because that would be definitely something Rose writes about. Like, if Sophie is, like, genuinely talking about, like, or sorry, if Rosemary's talking about, like, oh, I love Jack so much, or oh my god, we have our family together, like, and then has the family photo of them all sitting on the couch, but it's not mentioned once that Sophie nearly dies. You know? Like, personally, that should be addressed. And if Sophie is apparently gonna snap her neck at some point, I do think that it would be written down, especially because of how much is in my soul in terms of her diary entries. Just a thought. Now, is that to say that Sophie never snaps her neck on a playground when she's like 3 or 4 years old? Of course not. It is a possibility, sure. Is it a wild possibility? Absolutely. Yeah, it's a huge assumption. And to me, when I'm more thinking about it, it could be up there with like a really weird theory. This might be possibly the weirdest theory I've ever heard with the Walten Files. And that's not to say it's a bad theory or anything. Sometimes theories are just weird and it turns out to be correct. Like sometimes, like think about FNAF, like, you know, who would have thought by Help Wanted you would have William Afton in a circuit board, you know? But like, yeah, I don't know. Someone mentioned this in chat already. Someone mentioned what in chat? Okay, I don't understand that. Okay, I'm confused. I've been saying stuff off the top of my head. I haven't had the chat. I haven't had the chance to fully read chat. So if it was said, yeah, exactly, fair. But like, snapping, yes. Susan, yes, Susan gets her neck snapped. But in this theory, for example, in this theory, they're assuming that Sophie snaps her neck when they're 3 or 4 years old. And then also, right, exactly, Han Solo makes a... I love that name, by the way. Han Solo makes a good point. If she breaks her neck at 3 or 4, would there not be facing somewhat of lifelong consequences of a broken neck? Now, I know there's people who have broken their necks and they haven't faced lifelong consequences, but I don't know. But yeah, I just think assuming Sophie snaps her neck for the sake of your theory is kind of crazy. Just saying.
I think that's kind of crazy. That would be like me saying, how do I put, like, oh, Charles is actually Bon because behind Felix's back, Charles goes and kills someone, and that's actually the result of Bon, rather than Jack and Felix killing someone. Where am I getting that from? I don't know. I'm just making it up. You know, like there's no evidence to back Sophie breaks her neck. You know, there's no evidence to prove that. You know, but again, there's also no evidence to prove that it doesn't happen. So it's kind of a double-edged sword from my perspective. Yo, Jerwin's at the 5. Jesus, thank you so much, dude. What are your thoughts on the tie-in with Bunny Farm and Wonderland with the location such as the windmills? Yeah, I think Wonderland is kind of formulated, or Bunny Farm is formulated from Wonderland. But I also think Bunny Farm is a specific actual location because of episode 5. Episode 5 to me is kind of like, especially the photos of Rose like in the farm before like obviously the scene happens. It kind of gives me the whole thing of like, oh, you know, Wonderland, or sorry, Bunny Farm might be a real place. But yeah, this theory is definitely a reaching. It's, I'll be honest, off the top of my head, it's probably the weirdest Walten Falls theory I've heard. But yeah, there's just a lot of like, oh, this had to have happened. Where's the evidence? Oh, I don't have any. I'm just saying that. And that's kind of like, oh, I don't know. But it's not a bad theory. But then again, it's not to say that Sophie doesn't actually snap her neck. That could happen. That absolutely could happen. But again, I'd love to see maybe like a thing of, oh, maybe this was somewhat alluded to, but just saying the good, or like the get well soon cards are just, oh, it has to be for Sophie. Just kind of like, to me, those get well soon cards were just like, oh, it's Rosemary and Sheep, you know, and like, I don't know. That's how I see it. Like, but then again, I don't know. But yeah, I need to go. That's just my opinion on the Azuro video. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Go support Azuro. Go drop them a sub. Their videos are blowing up right now, so fair play. But yeah, I just personally don't agree with this theory, but it's definitely a possibility. I mean, it's a theory. It's just a theory. But yeah, I definitely be interested to see if there's anything in the future that alludes to Sophie possibly breaking her neck. Also, Grim with the 2, thank you so much. Can't wait for the vid tomorrow. Love the content, dude. Thank you so freaking much, man. I appreciate that. I'm very excited for people to see that video. Also, I just need to run to the toilet. I'll be like literally 2 seconds. I just need to run to the toilet. I'll maybe like 30 seconds. I'm just dying here. I was like, okay, how long is left of this video? I need to go toilet bad. So I'm gonna be right back. Doing a move muscle. We're getting into hot takes now, so lock in. There will be a lot of hot takes to get through. So I'm very, very intrigued to see what the hot takes are gonna be like. So yeah, do not move my muscle. We're gonna be right back. I don't know why the be right back screen was so small. I'm just gonna leave it on this screen. I'm gonna be right back. Are we serious? There's no way, dude. no way. There's no way. Cookie, dude. Oh, no. Thank you so much for the 10 memberships, Cookie. I appreciate that. Yo, Blue Wolf as well, dude. Holy hell. Okay. Thank you all so much for the gifted memberships, y'all. That's insane. Thank you so freaking much. We have got so many. So freaking many hot takes to get through, by the way. Also, before we do that, I'm going to check out Juffo's video because I don't think that will be a shorter period of time to see that, okay? Let me just go to Juffo's channel. Alright, Juffo, there we are. Also, Cookie, thank you so freaking much. You're very kind, dude. Thank you so much, dude. It's timestamped? Alright, bet. It's timestamped. At 40:10, okay. I'll just go to 40:05. Alright. The alert box is going to be muted. But of course, if you're in chat, you're going to see if there's any donos, and I will still read out every dono. I just don't want people on VODs to just get the rum, rum, rum every like 2 seconds. But dude, Cookie, thank you freaking so much, dude. Oh my god. Alright.
Can it wait?
It's literally just 2 minutes.
Wait a minute. Is that...
It's literally just 2 minutes. Oh my...
Is that Cal? Ladies and
Oh my god, he's done me so
That is
dirty.
by far the most heartbreaking, tear-jerking, gut-wrenching, throw-up-inducing role of the entire freaking
Oh, he's done me
tape.
so dirty.
Cal, aka that horror dude. With all jokes aside,
Oh, there's
congratulations
me.
for being in this film, dude. You did an amazing job with the few lines you had, and it's also really cool that a guy who's in the Walten files also knows who I am. So I can't even imagine being in the film. So just round of applause. Round of applause. We don't actually know why Cal is there to tell Derek
'Cause
to
I'm
leave the
Bond.
room. We don't ever know what they say.
I'm
Really,
Bond.
The only reason that this scene even happened was because we needed an excuse for Rosemary to have
Because
an
I'm
encounter with
Bond.
Some
I
might
am
say it's
Bond.
strange that
That's
Rosemary
why. Holy shoot, dude. That's so goated, dude. Oh my god. Yo, D Dasher. With the £2. Dead by Daylight X Walton Falls when? I don't think that'll ever happen because of the FNAF stuff. I don't think it will. I don't think we'll ever get something in terms of like a media, like Walton Files or like a U2s of Walton Files because of the FNAF licenses. I would assume because obviously it's very similar. So that's my personal take on it. I just don't think that will be the case. However, let's get into this. It is so time. It is so time. It's time to get into Walton Files hot takes. I have not done this for I don't know how long, a long, long time. But without further ado, we have gotten 276 comments of hot takes. I don't know how many are going to be in this in terms of making into the edit, but we're going to go through as many as I can in terms of the most interesting ones, in terms of the most crazy ones, and maybe just the hottest takes we could possibly get. Because, yeah, this will be an interesting video for sure. But I prefer to just get straight into it. If you see your comment in here, lock in, because we are going to give our opinions on it. Alright, lock in. Okay, I'm going to start with the first one by Soft. Okay, this is going to be super interesting because there's also 100 likes on this one. Okay. Getting lore drops from the Walton Falls team in a Twitter space or Discord server or a deleted post, it feels like fans who are mainly on YouTube are missing out on really important things that are out of the loop. At times it feels cliche that a handful of certain people get teasers or lore drops. Sometimes I get confused on what the concrete lore is because it's old, retconned, or not relevant anymore, or told in some super secret server. Do you know what? To my knowledge, I can't personally think of much lore being revealed in the Discord server. Like, off the top of my head. But then again, off the top of my head, what I can think of is, like, Ava saying that episode 6 is going to be longer than episode 5. And that is, in my eyes, a pretty important thing. But then again, you have to put into perspective. Are the crew or team really going to make an entire like teaser thing and draw it all out like a merch ad just to say Walten Files 6 is going to be longer than Walten Files 5? I don't personally think so. But then again, I completely can see why people would be like, "Oh, I didn't know that was happening," because there is stuff that even I don't know of that might have been revealed ages ago. I mean, the best example was I thought the box that appeared in episode 5 was Felix's. So when you go to my timeline video, I could say that's Felix's box and be completely wrong. I don't even know where I'm getting that from, because I thought I heard someone say that. Maybe, I don't know. Even off the top of my head, I don't know where I'm getting that information from. But I definitely think that when it comes to like the Find Jack Walton side of things, that's just as important as the mainline series, personally, because of the ARG side of things. But like I think even like maybe just like saying, oh, like on a Twitter post, like, oh hey, yeah, 6 is gonna be longer than 5, by the way, something like that would make sense, I guess. But no, I can completely see like how people might feel alienated or like isolated from information when it comes to like information that's like in like a Discord server or like a Twitter space and stuff. That definitely, I can see why people would get annoyed at that per se. I'm gonna use this one as well. The series has miles better writing than FNAF could ever dream of. Do you know what? While I agree based on episode 5, I think if we're talking like episode 1 to 3, it's kind of hard to say it's better than FNAF just because of how much of FNAF was revealed at that time. And again, if you don't have Five Nights at Freddy's, you don't have the Walten Files. So I think it's kind of certain like you can't diminish what FNAF has done, no matter how bad or good the writing is. Like don't get me wrong, I think the films are pretty awful in terms of writing. Specifically FNAF 2. FNAF 1 is okay, but FNAF 2's writing is absolute dog, But when it comes, like, if you were to watch episode 5 or FNAF 2, I'm taking episode 5 every day of the week. FNAF 2 is just not good. And that's my opinion, by the way. If you like FNAF 2, all power to you. But, like, I just think that it's kind of like you can't say, like, FNAF is, like, better writing just because FNAF has had a period where the writing is really bad. But the Walten Files has also had periods where the writing isn't great. Every single series that possibly ever existed or film that ever existed has writing that isn't great. I mean, if you look at the Walten Files 1 to FNAF 1, you're probably taking FNAF 1 over the Walten Files 1, But, like, you have to have FNAF if you want Walten Files. You can't have Walten Files and not have FNAF. You can't have FNAF and not have Walten Files. Well, actually, no. I'm probably messing up that analogy. But I also think that Secret of the Mimic is really good writing. While there is periods of Secret of the Mimic that I don't like I think, I just think that it's hard to say it's, like, miles better. But I just think that, like, I personally prefer the writing in Walten Files because it's more heartfelt. It's more emotional. But nobody can tell me that the writing in FNAF 6 isn't incredible, by the way. I'm just saying. Because when you go to Henry's speech, that is one of the best pieces of writing we've gotten in the entire FNAF series as a whole. And I just think that's kind of hard to overlook that piece of writing. But also you have the scene from Rosemary. I think they're not that far off each other. I think they're pretty equal. I think Walten Files has better consistency. But also, FNAF has been around for 12 years, while Walten Files is like, what, 7? I just don't want to say the thing. It's either 6 or the next number. It might be 5 or 6, I think. But yeah, I think, you can have your opinion on that, but I just don't think they're that far off each other. I personally prefer the writing of Walten Files, especially episode 5. But I think there's definitely scenes of FNAF that I absolutely adore. Also, if you're talking like maybe in terms of like the timeline, yes, Walten Files is way more concise and compact. Also, Cookie with the 5. God damn it, dude. Bon is Pumpkin Rabbit's boyfriend. Okay. But yeah, I just think that the story of the Walten Files is more concise, while FNAF is more broad. That's if you're referring to that, then I agree. Let's find one I don't actually agree with. Or, like, fully don't agree with. Okay. I don't agree with this one. The early episodes are ridiculously cryptic for no reason, and anyone getting into the Walten Falls for the first time can be left confused without someone explaining it to them so they can actually understand what's going on and not be discouraged from watching more. Personally, I feel like episode 1 was kind of laying the groundworks. Like, you have an employee get killed in 82, and then you have that employee in the afterlife saying they thought I was her, referring to a certain her. Who is that going to be? Then you have, like, it's just a non-linear story. Like, everything's happening non-linearly. And then when you have episode 2, it's giving you, it's literally giving you dates of when stuff is happening. So to me, I don't think episode 1 and 2 if we're talking episode 1 and 2, because I think episode 3 is pretty concise in, like, timelines and stuff. It literally tells you the exact time when the car crashes. It's like 9:54 or something, or 9:55. So I think when it comes to being cryptic, episode 2 definitely isn't, in my opinion. While Lucky You absolutely is. Lucky You is a secret video. I kind of feel like secret videos are supposed to be cryptic in a way. That's just my personal take on it. But I just don't think the early episodes are too cryptic for someone to not get into the lore. I think there's enough, especially episode 2. There's so much lore in episode 2 that establishes, 2 employees, possibly 3, were killed. One of those 3 as the last name Walten. Bear in mind, one of the co-founders, because of episode 1, is Jack Walten. You also have episode 2 referring to Jack appearing in the background, the face in the dark. Like, there's a lot of stuff in there that sets the groundwork for what's up with this Walten guy. So, I just personally think that it's not cryptic personally. But then again, that could be me talking because I know the series a lot. If you ask someone who doesn't know the series at all, maybe they might find it cryptic. Of course, it's going to be just different opinions. But just on my personal opinion, I don't think they're too cryptic. But then again, I mean, that's up to everyone's personal opinions. All right, the Bread Society. Their art, by the way, is incredible. Their art is, like, next level. It's by far the best in the entire community, in my opinion. Okay, I think people focus too much on who Bon is compared to why he is the way he is. And while I agree, because I definitely focus way more on who he is, I don't think we have enough to really go why he's the way he is. Because episode 4, you kind of just get the vibe of him trying to make people beautiful and, like, to give people a gift, per se. But I don't know if we have enough yet to kind of purely focus on, like, why he is the way he is. I think episode 5 kind of gives a little bit of, like, in terms of the conversation he has with Rose. But again, I off the top of my head, I've never really been able to formulate a theory of why he does the thing he does, other than just, like, if it's Jack per se just wanting his family back. You know what I mean? I think it's also because we don't have a concrete idea other than, like, assumptions. Like, I think it's just, like, because it's an assumption of who he is, it's kind of difficult to formulate a concise theory of why he is the way he is. Like, for example, if you go into my theory videos about, Jack is Bon, I'm just going to say, yeah, he is the way he is because he wants his family back, or he is the way he is because he's full of rage and that one emotion is overpowering. And so, I think for me personally, when we go into that, it's like, is that, like, can we only figure out why Bon is the way he is because of a theory that could lead to who he is? Is that going to be a thing where, like, once we know a little bit more concrete of who he is, then we'll understand why he's doing it? I don't know. I'd love to hear people's opinions on that in the comments, by the way. Yo, Inquisitor with the 10. Jesus, holy shoot, dude. I'm going to be frank. At this point, Bon almost certainly was/is Jack. Whether it be the Jackrabbit, the blood-caked teeth, Jack and Bon were both the focus of episode 1, and they look alike. Grief makes monsters. Another thing, if you want to add to that, Jack literally says grief is an illness. Just saying. He does also say grief is an illness. So that's a really interesting piece of dialogue, by the way, to refer to an emotion as an illness, personally. I think it's a very interesting way of looking at things. But yeah, I don't disagree. I do think Jack is Bon in some capacity. But yeah, again, there is, of course, so many theories that you could formulate with, hey, maybe it's this instead. But I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, I think Felix might have crashed the car. He might have, maybe. I don't know. He might not have. Hot take: Billy should be considered a showstopper rather than a birthday party exclusive animatronic. I swear Billy is considered a showstopper, no? I mean, yeah, he performs on stage, but does that mean he's a showstopper? I mean, technically... Huh. That's actually a really good way of making my brain think. Because Billy was built... Oh, when was Billy built again? 74... The end of 74? No. No, it couldn't have been the end of 74. Like, July? I don't know why I'm saying July. That's just what my brain is thinking. But... Or maybe Billy arrives at... I can't remember the timeline off the top of my head. I have it written down somewhere. But yeah, no, I swear Billy's considered a showstopper, no? No? I get, like, he's a side character for sure. I'm just going off the cartoons, like Bond's Super Sleepover. Like, you have... let's remember, if everyone's invited. You have Shah, Billy, Buzu. You know what I mean? That's actually a really good... Maybe he isn't a showstopper. Maybe that's just been my headcanon. Because he's an animatronic. Yeah, that's super interesting, actually. That's actually made my brain think. I love that one now. I have a question. How do you remember all this? I don't know. It just stays in my brain for whatever reason. Yeah, Banny wasn't invited. No, but is Banny not? Because you have... Yeah, because Bond's there. Shah's beside Bond. Billy's in the cloak. And you have Buzu on top of them on the couch. Huh. Yeah, Banny isn't there, right? Yeah, Banny's not at the sleepover. Yeah, because like when the night drops and it pans across their face, yeah, Banny's not there. I always saw Billy as the Foxy of this series. That's a really good way of looking at it, actually. Oh my god. Fair. You know what? Toy Bunny Gamer, you deserve a like for that. You made my brain think. Oh, this is what I'm not agreeing with. Oh, this is a really, really big hot take. Buzu's Ghost is actually the best holiday special the Walten team has made. Oh, Atomic, you're going to catch a stray. Oh, Atomic's catching a stray in this. Okay. Oh my god, they're both catching stray. Okay, let me read all of these. Buzu's Ghost is actually the best holiday special the Walten team has made. Atomic says it's definitely overhated and is a lot better than Mysterious House, in my opinion. Atomic, count your days. And then they say, and then the same person says, for real, if it had a remake in the current style, it would be even better than the Return of the Pumpkin Rabbit. Wow. Oh my god. How has this not got more attention? That is a boiling hot take. That is a absolutely boiling hot take. First of all, Buzu's Ghosts being the best holiday special over Mysterious House, over the Return of the Pumpkin Rabbit. Oh my god. Slander on our glorious Walten, Pumpkin Rabbit, and Watermans. Oh my god, that's insane. I mean, of course, it's an opinion, but I just don't see... Because for me, Buzu's Ghost drags so much. Like, the end of Buzu's Ghost is cool. Like when Bond comes in the window and stuff, and when Mortality comes through the window. Why did I say Bond? I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna be called a LARPer now. But being better than Mysterious House for me is obviously I'm gonna say no, because everyone knows I'm biased to Mysterious House, and I also think that people might agree with that purely based on the fact that Mysterious House is 10 minutes long, and Buzu's Ghost is like 45 minutes long, or whatever it is. It's like 40 minutes or something. But I remember rewatching Buzu's Ghost, and my god, it dragged majority of the entire thing. I'm sure a remake of Buzu's Ghost would be great because of how talented the crew are now in comparison to like the difference in quality and the animation style. But I just don't think I personally don't think we'll ever get Mortality for a long time. I don't think we'll get Mortality for a long, long time. In terms of an entire episode based on them, I just don't think Mortality has the same pull as Pumpkin Rabbit does. That might be even a hot take, but I'm just saying from my personal experience, I think that no matter what, if they brought out a remake, of course it'd be pretty good. I would assume it would be, and mortality would like blow up the same way Pumpkin Rabbit did when Return of the Pumpkin Rabbit came out. But I just think that more people preferred Mysterious House. But yeah, I just think that when you look at the Return of the Pumpkin Rabbit being 40 minutes and doesn't drag at all, in my opinion, kind of shows like a lot of difference in quality. Also, it's Cookie with the 10, dude. Cookie, I'm gonna slime you. Something absolutely shocking. Jack is Walten. Oh my god. Cookie, stop throwing away money, dude. Save your money. The Boozoo's Ghost remake is perfect. That the fan-made one, I'm going to assume. That fan-made one is fantastic, by the way. Yes. That Boozoo's Ghost fan-made one is absolutely amazing. This is going to be one that's going to take 30 seconds of the video, but I disagree. The Pumpkin Rabbit series is by far the best thing the Walten Falls team has made so far. Actually, I'm going to disagree because of episode 5. But if you're asking me personally, I'm going to say Mysterious House and Pumpkin Rabbit. But, like, I think objectively from my... Like, I know this is going to sound crazy because I just said in my opinion, then objectively. I know it doesn't make much sense. But I think episode 5 is just better than Return of the Pumpkin Rabbit. Like, I love Tales of the Pumpkin Rabbit. I love the updated Mysterious House and everything like that. But I just think episode 5 has just better writing. I think it has too much that's better in terms of just, in my opinion, being better. Would I prefer to watch Pumpkin Rabbit? Yes. But would I say it's better than episode 5? Personally, no. Which I know I've probably just contradicted myself about 5 times in the same sentence. But I just think episode 5 is better than Return of the Pumpkin Rabbit, but I prefer Pumpkin Rabbit. I admit, just because of the character. That could be, like, really stupid to say, but, like, I can see why people would prefer Pumpkin Rabbit series better than the overall series because of, like, its own universe, I guess. But I think is, like, I could completely understand if you said Pumpkin Rabbit was better than 5 or 5 was better than Pumpkin Rabbit because, you know, they're both absolutely incredible. They should remake Boozoo's Ghost in the new style they did with Tales of the Pumpkin Rabbit. I think they should, but do I think it will happen? Personally, no. I just don't see them doing it. I don't think that they're gonna focus on a Boozoo's Ghost remake when they're gonna be making 6. Also, the fact of the matter is, at most we might get like a Mortality appearing in like a plush video again, like he was in like the roller coaster scene. But I just personally don't think we're ever going to see Mortality in the next year or 2. I just don't see it personally. I mean, if I'm wrong, let's go, dude. I'm always down to see a Mortality video. But I just don't think so. I think the fact that the crew hate Boozoo's Ghosts, to my knowledge, it might encourage them to go, hey, I'd want to fix that. That would make sense. But I also think it's like a thing of like, would they focus on a Boozoo's Ghost remake instead of episode 6? I don't think so. That's just my personal hot take, though. Oh, this is an interesting one, actually. Sorry. I don't like how a lot of people get offended if others don't believe the same things as them. Everyone has their own theories, but I realize a lot of people get annoyed when others don't agree with them. For example, the Jack is Bond theory, I've noticed a lot of people get mad at it. I can vouch for that because I get so many comments on my videos of like, no, Jack cannot be that. It's so boring if Jack is Bond. But like, I just want to say, like, personally, yeah. I just think personally that I just don't see how else, like, Jack, wherever Jack is. Like, he's in Wonderland, sure, because we have that one teaser of, like, the suit in Wonderland. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of how things are online. It's like, some people just don't agree with you and get pissy. But that's just how it is, unfortunately. But then again, like people are entitled to their own opinions. You just gotta, like, realize that, I guess. Potato Man. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I wish the Find Jack Walten website was used more often to show teasers. Preach, Potato Man, preach. I want more teasers from Find Jack Walten. Fair enough if it's marketing and it's videos. That's absolutely fair. I mean, we're gonna compare 2 opinions on Find Jack Walten, But I just think Find Jack Walton is the most engaging. I think when you're actually searching for these things, like can we all go back to the time where we all found out about the Downtown teaser? Like that was, I can't remember another time in terms of like Find Jack Walton stuff where I've actually been so hyped. Like I remember being in the chat with everyone that time, and it was just so sick, dude. It was so much fun. So that Downtown teaser is probably the best example for me. Okay. 1. Find Jack Walton is a cool idea, however, I really don't like how it seems they're leaving giant lore in it. I've been trying to get my friends into the series, and it has been a nightmare having to explain what the site has and hasn't said. On top of that, while Richie's audio tapes is one of my favorite things in the series, it was so embarrassing to tell all my friends after we watched Bunny Farm, right, let's stop and listen to 10 minutes of audio that may be important later instead of moving on. It's a great idea for fans, but not for a general audience. Okay, I think I can understand where they're coming from in terms of a general audience, but I feel that that's the point of Richie's audio logs. Like, Richie's audio logs provide, like, extra story. But when you look at episode 5, everything that Richie says in those audio logs are then shown in episode 5. Like, the only thing that's not fully shown in episode 5 is the fact that Bond's Burgers closes down on the 20th of July. Like, that, and, like, they're shutting everyone down. And, like, it then you know that, like, Norman, like, calls Felix, like, 4 a.m. that night and stuff like that. I think it's 4 a.m., so like for me it just adds extra immersion, and to me when you look at that, it's like it's not essential Richie's audio logs to get the vibe of the story for general audiences, but if you want to know more and you're into the fan base, I think Richie's audio logs are absolutely worth listening to. So I feel that to me that's kind of the point of them being there. Like they add to the experience for the general audience that can go, oh, okay, like there's more to know about this. And exactly because it's an ARG. It's not mandatory. Yeah, exactly what Joel says. Like, it's not mandatory to know Richie's audio logs, but it helps. You know, it helps to get immersion into the series a little bit more. Okay, this is an interesting one. This may or not be a hot take at all, but I believe that the identity of Bond and the whole story being quote-unquote more simple than we think is so refreshing. I'm honestly kind of sick of theory-crafted media, despite of how much I've enjoyed them. Don't get me wrong, Walten Falls theories are really fun, but knowing in the long run things will be easy for everyone to understand makes me so happy. Honestly, I agree. I like how it's at the moment of assumptions, it's not like, for example, a random person's going to be turned out to be Bond. Like, if Bond just is that emotion that I like to think, like that, yes, it might be a little bit more mysterious than just saying it's a random person, or a little less mysterious than saying it's a random person. But it's also something that's like you can't like that's going to cause an explanation. Also, episode 5, everyone knew what was going to happen at the end of that video, but I didn't see one person say it was predictable or anticlimactic. So why are then people saying that if Jack ends up being Bond, who's to say that that wouldn't be anticlimactic either, you know? You gotta understand that, like, just because we know what's gonna happen doesn't mean it's not gonna be cool to see it. Okay, John 0714 isn't scary for me. It's not scaring for me anymore, but when I first watched it, yeah, it was terrifying. And 4, I'm slightly worried for Season 2 in a way of, as of right now, I see no direction it could really take. I get we'll see more of Sophie and Jenny, but enough to fill a whole season? I'm hopeful. Very hopeful because I trust Marin in the team, but I personally am wary. I think nobody should be wary of Season 2 purely because it's a fresh slate. Season 1 is kind of like going over everything that we, like, from episode 1 to 3 in more detail to the point where we're understanding everything like the palm of our hand. And it's giving you, like, literally the exact story points of what goes down. So by Season 2, it's a fresh, clean slate. Like, I don't think Season 2 is going to open up with a Bunny Farm remake. I don't think episode... Well, it'll be episode 7. I don't think episode 7 will open up with, oh, Sophie's just playing Bunny Farm now. That's not how it's going to open. I think, I personally think that episode 7 will just open up with Sophie meeting Jenny. Or, like, something maybe that, oh, they've already met and stuff like that. I don't think we'll get, like, Bunny Farm straight away. I just don't see that happening. I see us, like, maybe understanding of like how Sophie remembers everything, and then of course we'll see post Bunny Farm era, which that's what I'm so excited to see. But I don't think it'll be something to be wary of. I think season 2 will be super good because it will be a completely fresh, clean slate to the point where no one can predict what's going to happen, which is super cool to me. Well, of course, people can predict it, but like, you know, it's very unlikely people are going to predict it word for word. That's the same one we've already answered. Okay, let's see this one. It's kind of annoying how it's been 5 years since we've gotten anything from Sophie in 1982. I do want to see how Charles died, which has basically been confirmed episode 6 is going to be about. So another episode just going into more detail about stuff we already know what happened instead of progressing the story into the Relocate project and Sophie's future lore in the 80s. I do trust Martin as a writer and creative leader, but it's starting to feel like a bit of a drag considering we haven't learned anywhere near as much from the last 2 episodes that we do in Bunny Farm itself. However, I'm still excited for the next installment. Personally, I disagree. I think you need to establish Sophie as a child first. You need to establish Sophie's character as we do in episode 5, as we'll probably do in episode 6 also, to even get a vibe of her in season 2. Like, what? You're telling me in Bunny Farm you understand that Sophie's apparently not a good person? Which has been very much alluded to, by the way. Like, it's been, like, I to my knowledge, it was said by the team that, oh, don't just assume everyone's a good character or a good person. So I feel like if episode 5 doesn't exist, and you don't see the interactions between Sophie and her mother and her father, and then her genuinely saying, like, I don't feel anything for my 2 youngest siblings going missing, you don't think that's an interesting thing? I think that you need to know that sort of thing to even justify her being the protagonist in season 2. You need to get her as fleshed out as physically possible to then justify her being the protagonist. So I personally disagree with that purely on the fact that you need to understand somewhat of this character's trauma, what they're going through. At home, for example, like you see her interact with Jack, which is something we hadn't seen before at all. And so you need to understand what she doesn't remember to get a vibe of like what she forgot. Like you need to see like, oh, this is how she was with her family and they loved her and she loved them, but also what trauma they brought to her and what she doesn't remember because of that. And you need to understand that, I think, to justify any of her being the protagonist in season 2. Okay, that's an interesting one. Felix killed Jack. Jack struck a deal with Bon. Do you know what? I actually don't mind it. It's basically it would just be my theory based on Felix being a deal with Bon, I guess. But yeah, it's not a bad theory, I guess. Let me see here. Okay, so this is about that one teaser that came out. Yeah, it's in like the shot of the back room, and then you get Felix talking. Okay, let's get into this one. I also firmly believe that Felix is either talking to Susan or Charles when he says, "Are we still friends?" rather than Jack. I believe we'll get a cold, heartless reaction when it comes to Jack's confrontation with Felix. Felix cared more about the business side of things rather than his actions effect on the Walten family. Although with him asking Charles and Susan to hide the rocket doll, he probably still thought he had some allies or people that he can manipulate at the least. And of course, we know he was somewhat involved in their disappearance afterwards. So I'm thinking either after a fight with Susan or Charles, he's begging for their alliance with him, though knowing that they are not bad people they refuse. You know what? I do remember that piece of dialogue coming out about like, oh, are we still friends? And I do think it's such a cool piece of dialogue, and I hope it's not retconned. But I just think that we should definitely get something with Felix in episode 6, if not the entire episode being about Felix. I could very much see episode 6 being very similar to episode 4 in a way, where we're going to see a lot of Felix in the build-up until it eventually shows the Charles kill, sees like how Charles interacts and gets put into Buzu, etc., and then ends again with like Felix again. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the journey that episode 6 goes on, because it's behind the smiles. It's going to be a business-based episode. We're going to get Norman. we're gonna get Richie, we're gonna get Felix, we're gonna get Charles. How much more can we fit in there? You know, I don't think we're gonna get an episode that's like as much as Rosemary had for Charles. I don't see that happening. I really don't. Rosemary is way much more of an important character than Charles, in my personal opinion. As much as I prefer Charles, I think that's just a fact. Rosemary is more important. So I think episode 6 will be very similar to episode 4's structure in a way where it's going to be predominantly the business, with then maybe Charles finding something out about the business to then results in him getting killed, and then it goes from there. That's how I think episode 6 is going to play out. But I do think it's going to be super cool to see how Felix is written in episode 6, because I think there's going to be some crazy stuff in that episode that's not just like, oh, blood and gore. I think there's going to be some really dark elements of that episode that we have no idea what's coming. Let's see. Oh my god. Oh my god, I just read the first few sentences. Hot take. Felix is overhated. Oh my god. Like, I get lying to your best friend about killing his children is wrong and all, but it's also slightly a bit of Jack's fault for asking him to fetch the kids from school, assuming he knew about the breakup that happened between Felix and Linda. And I feel like him lying was pretty understandable. Not saying it was good to lie, but I feel like a lot of people would go straight to lying after waking up and seeing the bodies of your best friend's children all mangled up because of you. And I think once Felix lied about the kids falling into the river, he sort of just descended down the rabbit hole, just to keep lying more and more and more, knowing he's gone too far and can never redeem himself. Okay. He's not overhated, in my opinion. I just don't think so. But I don't think you should blame Jack, because from the conversation in episode 4, by the way, with Charles and Susan, which I always allude back to that conversation. I think it's my most used scene in the entire series, by the way, in terms of lore. They didn't know about the addiction, apparently. Jack and Rosemary didn't know about the addiction, because Charles says the line, I think it's exactly this line of like, come on, even Chris knows about the addiction. So I think Jack and Rose don't know about the addiction at the time. Therefore, it isn't Jack's fault at all. Now, of course, this person may just not have known that was a thing, which is completely fair. But I absolutely think that Felix is underhated. I think this guy is a rotten person, and I can't wait to see how they write him in episode 6. But I think My Soul confirms everything for me. Like, My Soul shows how much of a douche that guy actually is, dude. Like, My Soul shows everything about Felix for me, and that just shows how crazy episode 6 is going to be. Like, I think it's going to be insane. Let's have a look here. I think in some parts we need the old analog horror style when a scene takes place in the BSI location. In my personal opinion, I disagree. I like how it's completely ditched analog horror. I love how it's gotten rid of it. I think analog horror has been one of those topics in genres or subgenres of horror, for example, that's really, really been limited by its style. And I think episode 4 is the perfect example of the mixture between analog and animation. But I just don't think they should go back to it. I think episode 5 works so perfectly the way it's shown, especially when it's being scary. Like, you still get vibes of old Walten Files in Rosemary's death. Like, when the faces are in the corner and stuff, like, that's still vibes of, like, how it used to be in, like, episode 3. I don't think we need any of the old analog horror style, in my personal opinion. I just really don't think we should. I don't think it gives any more. I think the series has shown the perfect mixture in episode 4 between animation and analog horror to where we can't go back to that. And episode 5 has given such a like crazy like increase in quality to the point where it just feels to me where I'm like, yo, why would they go back to why would they go back to the analog horror if they already adapted it in like a full hour and 20-minute analog animation? Like, why would they go back? I think if they go back to analog horror, they're going backwards in quality. Sure, you can have like the secret videos, maybe like the analog horror style, possibly, but I think the way they're going is way better, in my personal opinion. Why did you skip my comment? I think we should see more of the fixed or repair showstoppers. I think we see them plenty. I mean, Spectacle shows them fixed up perfectly and working, so I don't think we need to really see them. Like, we see them perform a lot. I don't think we need to see as much as we'd possibly think. Let me see here. I can't go through all of these, by the way. I'm going to go through the most interesting ones. Okay, here we go. This will be an interesting one. There's 9 replies also. I really don't like the Jack is Bond theory. It just doesn't make much sense to me. Like, why is he brutally and painfully killing his friends and wife who literally did nothing wrong, but he'll let Felix walk away all willy-nilly after killing his kids? He's okay with his children's murderer living his life, but kills and disfigures random K9 employees. I can't stress this enough. Your wife and close friends to make them beautiful. And on that note, Ed and Molly's death destroyed Jack, even if he acted like it wasn't. So the idea of him randomly wanting to murder his last living child for the hell of it just doesn't sit right with me. If this theory is true, I'm sure the series would hopefully make it sense of it right now, but I'm not buying it. For me personally, I think it's to do with the Cyberpunk console. I think the fact that Lacrimosa focuses so much on the Cyberpunk console in the brains of the animatronics, it just makes too much sense. And so I think when you break it down, he does not kill Felix because he doesn't know that's Felix. He sees Shadow Man. Felix has never been tested once with the facial recognition. Bond doesn't recognize Felix. Bond recognizes Charles, well, presumably, but because obviously the Cyberpunk console is tested on Charles and Susan with Banny and Shah. But we don't know about any tests with Bond as of right now. But assuming so, with the Cyberpunk console being the exact same, we know that Banny and Shah both perceive Ed and Molly in that one scene in episode 4, but also Susan and Charles. Now, the one that didn't work was Sophie, so that's why Bond just kills Brian, because he thinks it's Sophie. So Bond has some articulation of what Sophie looks like, not fully. You know what I mean? I think that's interesting. Other than Dave, can we stop with this Dave character? Dave doesn't exist. He was saying Dave was Norman Pooltrick, like that's what that theory was about. Let's stop about Dave. The only logical reason is Jack is inside Bond, but Bond is the one controlling Jack's action. Yeah, exactly. Like, the whole I'm in control thing makes too much sense to me. I think Atomic mentioned this to me in DMs. But, like, Jack talks in outside Bond's Burgers about being in control, and then Bond also talks about, oh, I'm in control. Like, there's just too many similarities between Jack and Bond to where if Jack isn't Bond in some capacity, it kind of voids a lot of dialogue and makes a lot of dialogue look silly, in my opinion. So, just gonna be honest. This is a really interesting one, actually. Sorry. This series gets less fun to discuss after the release of each episode. I wish the series had a few more setup mysteries, so that there's more than like 2 things to talk about. Like what? You have who's Bond? Why does Bond do what he does? I think there's enough intrigue there for me. You know what I mean? Yo, BD with the 5. Hey, Carl, have you seen the drawing Rosemary did in the unlisted video where it's Jack dead with the text, he called from work? Where was that? Where was that? Can you DM me that? Dude, can you DM me to that, please? I want to see that. If you can source that and like send it to me in DMs, I would love you forever. Hey Cal, sorry for interrupting. Don't worry, dude. I'm recording this as a video, but also I'm answering chat. Don't worry, I'll just cut the chat responses out of the video and edit. Don't worry. Hey Cal, sorry for interrupting, but when you got the position of being a voice actor in the Walten Falls, did you get any spoilers, or was it hidden? I purposefully asked to not get told anything. Because I just didn't. Because again, right? Let me put this into perspective. If I knew what was going to happen in the Walten Files, realistically, all my theories are null and void, and my channel, therefore, is null and void, because I know what happens. I would never want to go and make a theory about something I know the answer to. You know what I mean? So I just personally, I first of all, the crew probably wouldn't have told me regardless, but I remember saying that I don't want to know, because I'm like, I wouldn't, like, there would be zero reason for me to make theory videos, and also I would just be wasting everyone's time, and that's the last thing I want to do. It would just, for me personally, I'd be like, why am I making theory videos if at the end of the day all it's doing is, oh shoot, like, I'm just wasting everyone's time here, you know? Let me just make sure I actually am okay with, like, storage. By the way, I am. A lot of the recordings of these videos take a lot of storage, so I'm just making sure I'm okay. Okay, we're okay. Cal, do you have a Discord server? Yes, I do. It's in the description, dude. Oh, Adam Wolf, the Scarecrows. Yeah, living vessels. That makes sense. The Scarecrows represent living vessels. Ethan sent me the eclipse. That's kind of cool, but it was cloudy. That's kind of sad. It was cloudy, dude. Oh, God. This is for horror, dude. Okay. I just heard some random song and I got scared. I was like, let me pause. I don't know what they're about to say. Okay. Let me just talk about some of these hot takes for the video, because I'm going to do like an hour-long hot takes video. Hopefully it'll be an hour long, but it'll be like 40 minutes anyway. So I'll probably get through a good few hot takes tonight, and then I might do some hot takes off stream at some other time. Let me go through some more, because I haven't actually gone through all of these yet, so I don't know exactly which ones are going to be cool. Huh. Okay, this is going to be an interesting one. The new episodes having cinematic sequences doesn't make sense if we're seeing these through the lenses of VHS tapes. Like, how are we seeing this? The first, second, and third episode make sense, as they're all plausible reasoning for why these are on tapes, but certain parts of episode 4, mostly all of 5, don't fit in continuity-wise. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with this in the way of storytelling. I just wish there was parts that didn't have a VHS filter to convey that these aren't tapes in the universe, but rather the story outright showing us these events in full detail. I will say this. They kind of retconned Anthony in episode 5. Episode 5, there's nothing about Anthony in the description. I think it's safe to say Anthony has been retconned at this point. Now, it's not confirmed. It's nothing, like, I don't know if it's confirmed that Anthony is retconned. I think it's very, very easily perceived that Anthony is gone. Like, it's not a big deal. I don't think the whole thing of, like, Anthony existing or not existing changes the story at all for me. I really don't. I think also Anthony not appearing in episode 5 also kind of, to me, feels like Jack's not in those tapes, by the way. Just saying. There's a possibility, but I just think there's always like a thing of like, oh, maybe Anthony's not in those tapes. Alright, BD sent me the video, or the thing. Oh, from June 23rd, 1974. I have not seen this. I have not seen this, dude. Holy shoot, I haven't seen this. This looks super interesting. This might be a whole separate theory video to make. Alright. You know what? Let me actually make a little video on this. It might be a little 5 or 6 minute video, but, you know, let's discuss this together. Okay, so this has been brought to my attention. This is from My Soul, the unlisted video from episode 5. This is a drawing Rosemary presumably does, okay? Also, to date, it is on the text, it says June 23rd, 1974. Shout out BD Studios for sending me this in DMs, by the way. So it says, they called from work, in quotation marks, with a question mark. Presumably a photo or drawing of Jack with the black suit. And it says, they called from work, they called from work, they called from work, they called from work. Okay. This is a very interesting piece of media, because it's very clearly Jack Walten. Of course, it's very clearly Jack Walten. But I think my brain is instantly saying that Jack goes missing, quote unquote, or dies at Bond's Burgers, because it very clearly states, like, in that conversation before Jack leaves on the 11th of June, when they're talking between him and Rosemary, it's like, oh, I have to do this thing, or it's not that important, and it is that important. like, who's to say that this wasn't said before this conversation? Like, oh, they called from work. They need me in on today. They need me in today. And then also, I think a work day would make sense in terms of a new business if Jack stays and tries to get home for 7 p.m. Like, for example, the way we look at things, obviously Jack stays late at the warehouse a lot, considering that's what he does in terms of on May 2nd when the car crash happens. But when we break it down here, so let's presume if Jack can't get home to bring Ed and Molly to the dance, right? So he's probably stayed in Bond's Burgers maybe from past 9 p.m., right? Maybe past 9 p.m. Or maybe he's home at 9 per se. So when he says, "Oh, let's go home for maybe 7," that's probably like, "Oh, I'll take a few hours off and I'll come home early at 7 o'clock." So in terms of this, of like, oh, they called from work. So like maybe he wasn't supposed to go in that day, but they called from work and stuff like that. That could possibly be what this is alluding to. But I definitely think this is definitely going to come back in terms of the conversation between him and Rose. I think it makes too much sense to not be. Because if Rosemary's drawing this and she's quoting something, this definitely means that Jack said something about they called from work. Now, does this confirm Jack dies in Bond's Burgers? No, it does not. Does it imply it? Yeah, you could say it implies it, absolutely. Because, of course, the word work. And, of course, when you break it down with other teasers we've had, it would make sense because we have that photo of Jack Walton in the office, riding in the red suit. So, it makes sense that this could be in something in the lead up to Jack's death. Doesn't it say Bond's closed at 10 p.m. on the sign outside the restaurant? Yes, but this is before the restaurant had opened. This drawing was on June 23rd, and the restaurant, to my knowledge, opens up on June 28th, and the first birthday is on June 29th, and then Susan dies on June 30th. So, for example, this drawing being the case in My Soul is definitely something to do with Rosemary, of course, because My Soul is... And, it's an art piece, so, Rosemary's drawings. So, when it comes to that and also has the date of June 23rd, this is a week before opening. But, of course, the main question, which is mentioned in chat, is who is they? Who refers to they? So, is this maybe Susan calling Jack to come in? Maybe Charles calling Jack to come in at this point? It is also interesting because when we go to that conversation between Charles and Susan when they're testing the Cyberfun console, I think it's after the car crash or maybe the conversation beforehand. Susan says they haven't seen Jack in ages, for some time now, I think is the exact quote. So it'd be interesting to see if this plays into anything. But I absolutely think that this could be a sort of thing where maybe Felix called Jack in. And I think this is giving us some extra context from the conversation between Rose and Jack on June 11th. I think this is supposed to give us some context for that. Because I absolutely think this is somewhat important. And if this, for example, this is in the unlisted video of My Soul, it's in one of the frames. So, I mean, this is cool to even see. I also think it's even interesting to see how Jack is physically drawn. He looks almost wounded. The fact that it's a lot of red as the drawing rather than, maybe a black outline, like the rest of the drawing is interesting how he's drawn with, red. That's super interesting to me. Maybe this is, something where, I'm trying to remember when Rose has the dream of Jack in the lake. In the lake. I'm trying to remember what date that was. Hopefully editing Cal will put it in here. But this is a very interesting note that he looks wounded in this drawing. Now, that's just how my brain's perceiving it? Is that fact? No, of course it's not fact. But the fact that this is in My Soul and it's in the unlisted video makes me feel like there's a reason for this being here. So I do think it's interesting. It's giving big, quote-unquote, they fell into the river drawings Rosemary did in episode 5. Oh, absolutely. It's giving, really, really interesting vibes. I think the way it's drawn is super interesting. The way, the mouth is referring to, like, the sentence, like the sentence is on the top, but then the sentence repeats here. So I think it's interesting. The 17th of July is when that thing takes place. Okay, got you. Maybe it's a recurring dream then. Maybe that dream that she has is a recurring dream. Yo, Grim with the 5. If you go to the convo Jack had at Rose, he said you can make something good out of something bad, like Bond talking to people in Wonderland. Yeah, exactly. Like, stuff like that, like, the way Jack speaks, like, his narrative dialogue, the way he perceives things, is very similar to how Bond perceives things as well. And I love that. I love the comparison you can make between Jack and Bond in terms of just pure dialogue. And that's why I feel like Jack is Bond in some capacity, like, even if it's the dialogue. And for example, when you talk like pure symbolism and how much Bond looks like Jack in ways, yeah, that would make that could be deemed obvious. But when you come to dialogue, when you're deciphering dialogue, which sometimes not a lot of people do, like if you watch films, sometimes people might not understand. Like, let's say you're watching a slasher film of like a whodunit, like a Scream or Thanksgiving or whatever, any of those slasher films, or like when the person who's not in the killer costume might say something that the killer says at some point. You're like, oh, wait, that the killer said that, and like some people will notice it, some people won't, and it's like almost like a giveaway. And so when it's come to Bond is apparently a more simple thing, quote unquote. And you like when you delve into the dialogue of both Jack and Bond and being similar, it is interesting to break that down. But I absolutely think that it's interesting how they say it. They called from work is pictured and drawn right above Jack's mouth. I think that's a really interesting way of why it's pictured there of all places rather than anywhere else. And I think that's a super, super interesting way of perceiving this thing. But yeah, shout out to BD for sending me this and the Dono for acknowledging it, because I have not seen this before. I did not see this in the secret video to the point where I have actually missed a lot in the secret video. So I'm happy that the community's actually helping me out and trying to decipher a lot more things, because this drawing is very interesting. Like, is that Felix that they're referring to there? Is that Felix? Is it Charles? Is it Norman? I mean, hey, maybe episode 6 will tell us, but that is a super, super interesting drawing to me. The day Bonds opens Rose's diary, suspects Felix, maybe that he killed Jack. It correlates to why Felix fired Rose and banned her from Bond. Yeah, no, I think, like there's a lot of things where Felix definitely, I've said this, I think Felix kills Jack, which is crazy. I would have never thought Felix would be able to kill Jack. I would have always backed Jack in a fight between the two of them. So, it also, yeah, it could have been Chris that called. Absolutely. It could have been anyone. It could have been Richie. I doubt it, but we don't know. Like, it could have been anybody. But I absolutely think that Felix kills Jack in a way. I would have always, if you asked me, who would you think would win in a fight, Jack or Felix, I would have always said Jack. But maybe Felix is one of those people who just finds a way to win in a fight. Like, if they just tussle and a gun, like, we all know they have a gun. Like, they just tussle and the gun falls to the side and Felix manages to just be really sneaky and gets it and kills him. Shoots him in the gut type of thing and then runs away. Then leaves him to call Rose. That could happen. Okay, let's go into some, like... Okay, let's go into maybe 2 more hot takes, because I think this video might be very long. Let me see here. Let me see here. Let me see. Okay, here we go. This is an interesting based on Jack and Bond. I hate the theory that Jack is just straight up Bond. Like, I agree that he probably is Bond, but like something has to have happened to him. I just don't think the fact that Jack would change that hard and choose to do this, especially in that short amount of time. Also, the one thing that kind of makes me doubt it is Jack is what was shown on security footage when Bond broke Rosemary out. I don't feel like Jack would replace footage with something that chaotic and random. That's actually a really good point. I really like that point made in terms of the My Soul video and in terms of what is actually being shown. But maybe that's a way of Jack's emotion. Like, there could be a certain thing. Like, I don't think it's going to be a simple explanation of why Jack is Bond. It's probably going to be that sort of emotion-based thing. But I don't think it's just going to be, Jack just got stuffed into Bond, now he's his Bond, doesn't remember anything. I think it's going to be a sort of thing where that emotion paired with the Cyberfun console is what makes Bon Bon. But I absolutely think there's going to be something where that, like for all we know, like that security footage, like it is interesting to why that was shown on a security camera footage. Like, how does that get onto a security camera footage? Like, how does that actually happen? That's going to be super interesting, even if that's ever even alluded to or explained in any way whatsoever, because I don't know if it's ever going to get explained. And I think that's a really good point to bring up, but like, why would Jack, if he is Bond, show that? You know? But then again, you have the line of like, did reality fail you again, my dear? So maybe Bond is just trying to show a different side of reality that's just chaotic and miserable, that could be random in a way. But no, that's a really good point, and that's a real big thinker as well. That'd be something that would make your brain think, and I really like those theories where like you genuinely have to think about what is the reasoning behind that, and I really like that one. I really like that theory. I don't think it's a hot take because it's just saying you hate the theory, but you also like give a good reasoning to why it could be the case, and I love those type of comments. All right, let's get into the last one, and let's make it not like let's not make it a Jack is Bond related thing. You know what? This is a good way to end it. The non-canon videos. Okay. I wish the non-canon videos had less tie-ins with the main series, especially Pumpkin Rabbit. I don't like how there's paintings of Ed and Molly next to a car with Bond in the background, because it makes it so much harder to discern what can be taken from them since they're non-canon. To be honest, I completely agree with this. I remember when I was like trying to craft earlier theories when I started the channel of like, what if Mysterious House and like even 32 Minutos, are they actually like canon because of how similar they can look? Like, for example, 32 Minutos with the exact same framing of like the red background and a red character crying, and the blue tears, the exact same way Felix was crying in Bunny Farm. Like, to me, that can definitely provide something in terms of like confusion, and it definitely confused me. So to be honest, I can agree with that. I think it makes I think it should be a sort of thing of like, hey, you know, they just shouldn't be considered canon. No matter what you see in there, don't even bother assuming it's canon. And I think that that's what the crew is trying to tell us. Like, they're just cool references. I that's how I'm starting to take those non-canon videos. Like, of course, when I react to them, I'll go like, oh, there's Bond, and I'll do the side-eye thing. But I don't think it'll be anything like, oh my god, they actually are canon in some capacity. But I just think that makes a lot of sense. Like, I do agree with that, because when I was like in the early days of theory building, I'd be like, oh, are they actually canon? I actually don't know. And it would confuse me in some capacity. So I can absolutely agree with that. But that is all the time I have for all the hot takes right now, because as you can see, there is hundreds of these. I could probably get like 4 videos out of these, which is just insane. So don't worry, if your comment wasn't brought up, don't worry. I will definitely do another video of hot takes at some point down the line. But that is just all the time I have for hot takes at the moment. But yeah, I just want to say thank you all so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. I really appreciate all the support on the channel recently. When you're watching this at some point, the timeline video will be out. It is coming out on the 13th of August, so whenever you're watching this, whether you're watching this live, it's out tomorrow, or whether you're watching this as a VOD, or wherever you're watching this, my timeline video is out, and it's 2 hours and like 40 minutes of the entire timeline and story of the canon series of the Walten Files. So if there's anything that confuses you, that's going to have most of the answers, if not all of them, to the best of my ability of knowledging, to the best of my knowledge of the series. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. I really just appreciate all the support on the channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I've done my absolute best to make sure all these videos and theories are concise as possible. But thank you all so much for watching. I'll check you all in the next one. And as always, the most amazing day. Stay safe, and peace. And I just had to obviously do a little outro for the video. I had to do that. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning into the live stream tonight. We've been live for around 2.5 hours. So we've had like roughly like 120 minimum is like the lowest amount of numbers we'd have in the stream tonight, which is just insane. So thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I really just appreciate all the support. It means the world to me. So I will check you on the next stream. This is the final stream in the office. So yeah, this is the last time you'll see it live. So for the next few days, it will be videos that have been made tonight on the channel. So the hot takes video will be out at some point. The theory of full timelines out tomorrow. And I'll probably drop that Jack drawing theory video on Saturday. That's because that'll be a shorter video. But thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I love you all, and I shall check you in the next one. Stay safe. Peace.